Fatima, Rakshanda Tanveer Ali Muhammad, Mir Ali Zaidi, Mustafa Begum, Ahsan Ali, Shahin Shah Begum, Fatiha.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعدي حقه المجتهدون، الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمام ولا يناله غوص الفطن، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا والشفيع ذنوبنا، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين الروح وأرواحنا الفداء، ولعن الله أعداءهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. صلاة على محمد وعلى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The potential and capacity of man has been our topic. Tonight is lecture number 2. I'm with you now for 3 more nights after tonight. Alaykum salam. And the attempt yesterday was to identify the qadr of the insan.
Subhanallah.
How much capacity and how much potential we have. Sometimes our progression towards the deen of Islam is stopped by the fact that we believe we can't achieve greatness. Sometimes we believe that we are limited. Sometimes we believe that we don't have that tawfiq spiritually to achieve that status of the ridayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we become our own enemies. We stop ourselves, we slow ourselves down, we convince ourselves that we're not able to achieve what Allah has in store for us. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has time and time again proven to us that, look, I created you for no other reason but to represent me on this earth. I created you as my Khalifa on this planet. I created you so you can introduce me to the other creations. I gave you the capacity to be able to be higher than angels if you can, or lower than animals if you choose to be. This capacity and this limiting nature of the capacity is something that we have introduced in ourselves. Allah has created an insan, like I said, that can move mountains if possible. So in these next 3 nights, especially for my youth, I really want to paint a picture and send the message that as difficult as they may seem Islam to be, number 1, Islam is a very simplistic religion. And number 2, what Islam wants from you, you can achieve even though you are in this world as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We talked about the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, last night we talked that sometimes He shows us our own capacity through struggle upon struggle upon struggle. The ayat that is the base of our discussion from Surah Balad says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. Man was created in the cradle of struggle and calamities. And sometimes it's us who goes through one extreme difficulty after another, only to convince ourselves that I had the strength inside of me all along. I simply needed to identify that capacity inside of me. And Allah knows that so long as life is going good, we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment there is a trip or a fall or a scrape or a bump, the janamaz comes out, the tasbih comes out, the amaz happen, you're here on Shabbat Jummah, you're doing in your house doing mannats. So long as there is a problem, there's dhikr of Allah. The moment that that problem is gone, now the janamaz is folded, the tasbih put back in the almadi, everything is now back to normal. Allah knows that the only way this bandi will come back to me is if I place a small crack on his sidewalk. If he stumbles, then he says, Labbaik ya Allah, I know you're still there, alhamdulillah. That's our reality. We're ghafil human beings. We sleep the khab of ghaflat. We are heedless, unfortunately. خُلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ ضَعِيفًا. We've been created weak. We've been created to depend on a higher being. That's how we've been created. And so some of us resort to that tawakkul, some of us don't resort to that tawakkul. But the idea that we cannot achieve greatness is nowhere in Islam at all. This is the whisperings and the waswasa of shaitan and shaitan alone. So tonight I want to speak a little bit about this enemy called shaitan, and more importantly look at how the establishment of Islam came through the hearts of the young individual. Sallu ala Muhammad wa Shaitan works in a very intelligent way. I'm not doing ta'rif of shaitan, but he works in a very intelligent way. He examines our life and goes through a trial and error basis to see what is it that pulls us off the path and what is it that we ignore. So one temptation after one temptation is placed in front of us. And he makes a mental note when we forget Allah and move towards that temptation. Be it, let's say, a gathering where ghibat is happening. If he sees that your eyes are lighting up and you want to stay longer, mashallah, to find out what happened to that person, who got divorced, who got engaged, what happened to the centers, what happened here, why is that divided, what happened here, then he says, oh, okay, this person likes ghibat. And he has a nice folder in his hard drive called Asad Jafri. And in that folder, he has a file. In there, he keeps adding stuff one by one, what Asad Jafri likes to do away from Allah. And once he has that nice list, he throws that in front of me every so often to see if I'll bite or if I won't bite. He spends his entire life doing that. The ulama of akhlaq tell us that before shaitan has that list in front of you, you should have that list in front of you. To find out that yes, there are moments where I have dhikr of Allah on my tongue, there are moments where I am ghafil towards Allah's kingdom. What is it that triggers that ghaflat? We should know. We should have enough muhasabah inside of us to understand where I am deficient and where I am sufficient. The example I often give is what? That if we wake up one morning, let's say, and our neck hurts, we've all been there, we can't turn left, we can't turn right. We have enough knowledge of our body to know that this is not a cause of concern. It happens sometimes. Maybe the pillow was too high or too low. You know that by noon, inshallah, the pain will be gone. Or alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Can you please move a little bit forward if you don't mind as people are rolling in? With one salat ala Muhammad. I can have the youth right here in front of me, that would be fantastic. Please, you guys are my motivation, mashallah, and the zina for my eyes. Please come right in front of me, please. May Allah bless you all, inshallah. So you wake up one morning, like I said, there's a kink in your neck, or let's say your fingers are numb, you know perhaps I slept on my hand, or the pillow was too high. You have enough preliminary knowledge of your body to know that everything is okay. But God forbid, you wake up one day and there's tightness in your chest, there's a shortness of your breath, your left arm doesn't feel right. Again, these symptoms, you understand that something isn't right. Go to the doctor, check it out, alhamdulillah, everything is okay. Do we have enough knowledge of our soul to know how we should be and how we are right now? A lot of times, we hear from the member that, look, travel towards Allah, go towards Allah, turn here, and sometimes we don't know what that path looks like. I don't know where to start, they say to us often. 18 years old, 19 years old, all of a sudden they have that spark, they have that tawfiq. Now I want to better myself. How do I start? What do I do? Now they start reading Nahj al-Balagha, they start reading, Usul al-Kafi and all these random books, and they don't get anywhere. Well, that's not going to work. There has to be a barnama, a program for you, fit for your needs to be able for you to gain spirituality. It's like the example I give that when you walk into a shopping mall and you want to know what store to go to, right? Your wife sends you to the mall to get something, unfortunately, she does. Right? And as males, we park to the closest exit to the mall, we go to the store, we come back out, quick and easy. We want to know where the quickest route is to the store I have to go to. So we look for a map, don't we? On that map, there's a dot. The dot says what? You are here. You are here. That you are here tells you if I go up, if I go down, if I go left, if I go right. If you don't know that dot, you'll be up and down that mall all day long looking for that one store. We equally have a map inside of us. Do we know where that dot is, where it says you are here? Do we understand I have to go up or down, left or right? And alhamdulillah, that spark inside of you is fantastic. If we don't act on that spark, sparks come and sparks go. Right? Those smokers outside who are trying to light their cigarette, have you seen them sometimes? It just doesn't light sometimes. The spark is there, it's not catching on fire. The moment it catches on fire, oh, Aram, so now he lights a cigarette, he's not having a good time. I'm not promoting that act, by the way. I'm saying sparks come and go. Equally, our tawfiq sparks come and go. There are days where we are ready for that spark. There are days where we are not ready for that spark. These ayam azal, one of the dimensions of the miracle nature of this azadari is it provides the arena for that spark inside of us. A lot of my kids ask, we cry and we cry, we wear black and we have these alams and all we do is cry. Even our New Year, we bring in wearing black and crying. These kids have questions. These young kids have so many questions. Like I was saying today in the day majlis, the inquisitive nature of these kids, your kids, is incredible nowadays. They have questions and ask questions that you didn't have the himmah to ask your fathers. Whatever was told from you from this member, from your father, you say, jihad, that's it, and you accept it. These kids know, Baba, why this Baba, why not this Baba? Like Maulana Asad Jafri Qibla used to say, that the kids in the West, they enter the house, they say three things and they leave. They say hi, why, and bye. And that's it. And while he was joking around, this habit of theirs is a very beautiful one. And I asked my elders in the audience, don't demote that inside of them. They have an inquisitive nature inside them to learn about the deen. It's your job as their fathers to give them that solution. If you don't have the answer, number one, don't make it up, God forbid. Number two, find the answer for them. Because if that answer is left, if that question is left unanswered, there's doubts, there's shak. When that doubt and shak happens, that's when they begin to question stuff like alams and tabuts and all these ridiculous questions that we have sometimes that really have simple answers. Anyways, I've got on topic here. The idea here is that we have to understand that shaitan and his whisperings sometimes lure us away from ourselves. The Quran has a very interesting statement about shaitan, where shaitan himself says, وَمَا كَانَ عَلَيْكُم مِّن سُلْطَانٍ. I, shaitan, don't have any sultanat over you. Understand for a moment. I am not your sultan. I don't force you or drag you or put a gun to your head or drag you towards an act. No. I simply whisper to you. I suggest to you. I give you recommendations. I give you ideas. It's you who's acting on that whisper. It's you who's acting on that recommendation. In the same verse he says, 124,000 prophets whispered to you. 14 ma'asumin whispered to you. Your parents whisper to you. The ulama whisper to you. The Quran whispers to you. You ignore all of that and you hear my one faint whisper. Because many of us will blame shaitan on the day of judgment. Allah, it wasn't my fault. Wallahi, I was a good person, but shaitan got the best of me. Shaitan will say, wait a second, don't blame me in this one. I simply whispered to you, and you accepted. وَمَا كَانَ عَلَيْكُم مِّن سُلْطَانٍ. Shaitan doesn't have any sultanate over anybody in this room. He wasn't given that power to force us. He was simply given respite until the day of judgment. This idea of infiltrating inside of us and forcing us towards an act, he wasn't given that power by Allah. So shaitan works in mysterious ways, number one. Number two, shaitan has no sultanate over us. We can very easily drown him out. We can very easily accept his waswasa. Because the reality is there has been youth in history that have done immaculate things for Islam. In fact, one alim in said that the establishment of the deen, the saving of the deen, and the re-establishment of the deen will all happen in the hearts and by the youth. Look at our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you examine his 23 years of Risalat, one thing is common. Whenever and wherever there was a large task, a significant role, a very important role to accomplish, he would ask a young individual to accomplish that task. Some examples. The first muaddin is Bilal Habashi. Bilal was 18 years old when he climbed the Khanaqah and gave that first adhan after Fatih Mecca. Some examples. Jafri Tayyar was the first individual to take this idea of Islam and go for tabligh into Africa. That very famous migration. He was 21 years old. Jafri Tayyar was a very important person in history. When he returned after Khaybar, the very famous sentence of our Holy Prophet is what? I don't know what makes me more happy. The victory of Ali at Khaybar or the return of Jafar. 21 years old. Took a qafila from Medina and went and spoke to the Christians about Islam. Okay? But the one youth I want to speak about tonight, and it's one that I've mentioned in Al-Hadi as well, is Mus'ab ibn Amir. Mus'ab is a very important figure in history. Some background about Mus'ab. Who was Mus'ab? Mus'ab was, before Islam came about, was a son to very rich parents. So rich, the books tell us, that they would live in Mecca. He would want something from Rome, and he would send his servants to go get that one thing from Rome and come back. It would take days one way to go to Rome. But Mus'ab wanted something, Mus'ab got it. He was the Amir of his house. This individual was completely self-centered, egotistical, full of himself. When the Holy Prophet announced Islam, the books tell us that he walked by the house of Rasulullah, and our Prophet's window was open, and he was reading the Quran in his immaculate voice, his mesmerizing voice. So much so that the enemies of Islam would sneak out in the middle of the night, park themselves outside the window just to get lizzat from the Prophet's voice. And on their way back, they would bump into each other and say, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? If those guys saw us, our mission is done. So from tomorrow, promise ourselves, we won't come back here. The next night, the next day. One thought the other won't be there, one thought the other won't be there. The exact same people ended up in the exact same window because it was a magnetic voice the Prophet had. Mus'ab was also caught by this voice. Finally, he comes to the Holy Prophet. He says, I've heard that you've announced that you are the Prophet of Allah. And that you claim there's only one God. He says, yes, I do. He says, will you take me under your wing and teach me everything you know? His response to Rasulullah, a lesson for our parents and our elders. It's not like the Holy Prophet didn't know who Mus'ab was. Mecca wasn't very big back then. He knew exactly who everybody was. He knew Mus'ab was a spoiled brat. Never once did he say, Mus'ab, you're wasting my time, get out of my face. He said, absolutely, and he brought him under his wing. A lesson for our parents. Sometimes we see a kid walking through that door, ajibale, tight jeans, right? Has no respect for the Fajr Adha, comes and sits here, and you look at him and just look at him. He's off. No one here, don't worry. Everyone's looking in the back. No one here. He's off the path. He's Battamiz. He has no hidayat. And we've labeled him already. The Holy Prophet is telling us that sometimes there is a capacity of hidayat inside every human being. It's up to us to extract that hidayat out of them. You never know who it can be the next Abu Dhar, who can be the next, I don't know, Muslim Naqir. You never know. But the idea of judging somebody based on their appearance is not accurate. He said, Musab, I'll take you under your wing. He taught Musab everything about the deen. Who was Mus'ab? When the Khasraj and Aus tribe from Yathrib, before Medina, heard about this Risalat in Mecca. The head of the Khasraj tribe, you know these two tribes, were tribes that would shed each other's blood very easily. One animal would eat the grass of another person's house. That's it. 150 years of war. 150 years of war because your donkey ate my grass. Oath of Jahalat. These individuals came to the Holy Prophet and said, Rasulullah, we're tired of going to war. We've lost our tribesmen, we've lost our family, we've lost everything. Do you have any solution for us? He says, yes, accept Islam. That's it. The heads of the tribe go back to Medina and say, we will talk to our tribe, but I need you to send me an ambassador who will represent you and your deen inside Medina. The Prophet sent an 18-year-old Mus'ab ibn Ali. Represent the Holy Prophet there. Mus'ab converted both tribes to Islam. Led the first Jamaat prayer in Medina. When Khasraj came to the Holy Prophet saying, leave Mecca and come to Medina to establish your government, the Holy Prophet said, if Mus'ab gives me the green light, I will come. Until Mus'ab tells me you're ready for me, I won't come. The migration from Mecca to Medina that our calendar is based on only happened because an 18-year-old gave the green light to our Holy Prophet. 18 years old. The Prophet came, mashallah, established a government of Islam from Medina, conquered the peninsula from Medina, all based on the efforts of an 18-year-old youth. Don't ever underestimate, my youngsters, the power you have inside of you. Yes, sometimes our adults, our parents need to give them the arena to fulfill and maximize that potential. But the potential you have is great. Amir al-Mu'mineen says what? You're not a ma'muli makhluk. You're not some ordinary creation. There's an alim akbar inside of you. There's a grand universe inside of you. Understand that and don't limit yourself. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And so on and so forth. Look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, 33 in Ghadir, 27 at Jang-e Khandaq when he was made kullu iman. 27 years old. Come to Karbala. The saving of the deen, Imam Hussein led that mission. He was surrounded by young kids. Janab Qasim was so young, the armor wouldn't fit him. The shoes were so big, they had to be tied on his feet. The sword was so heavy, he had to take two hands to pick it up. But the thought of him not giving for Islam wasn't an option for someone who saw death sweeter than honey. One kid after one kid, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 27-year-olds. Hazrat Abbas was 33 in the day of Ashura. All these were at the age of their youth. People who had their whole life ahead of them. But they were ready to sacrifice for Imam Hussein. And when it comes time for the zuhur of the Imam, the one group that we have inside of our books that's going to play a significant role for the zuhur of the Imam will be the youth and the youth alone. Why is the question? I want to clear up one misconception and move forward, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I had a discussion, or a talk, a small kid, maybe 6 or 7 years old, when I was recently in the US. He says, what does wa'ajjil farajahum mean? I said, hasten his reappearance. He said, whose reappearance? I said, the Imam of our times. Is Imam Mahdi? I said, yeah. He goes, I don't want the Imam to come. If there are teachers of Sunday school in this audience, if there are tutors of Islamic deen in this audience, either my sisters or my brothers, please understand this very carefully. I said, why? He said that I'm scared of the Imam coming. I asked him, I said, he was a very confident young man, obviously. I sat him down, I said, what's going on? And you can see he's visibly upset, visibly shaking with fear. He said, I keep hearing of the fact that when the Imam will come, he'll have a sword in his hand. He'll just keep killing people. So much so that my teacher at Sunday school told me that there'll be so much blood, it'll go up until your ankles when the Imam will come. You'll walk around the streets, and there'll be so much blood from all the bloodshed, it'll be up until your ankles. I'm scared of blood, I don't want to see blood, I don't want the Imam to come. He was 7 years old. Sometimes we present these things to our students and our kids, we don't realize the impact. How many times do our parents say to our kid, look, if you don't do this, Allah will not like you, Allah will punish you, Allah hates those, and now this kid grows up thinking Allah is this big monster, all he does is hate and punish. My ustad, we had a Islamic family class one time I took in the house. He said that when you raise your children, this is in brackets, I know it's off topic, when you raise your children, raise them such that they understand God to be a loving existence. Not the other way around. So if you want your child to do something, don't say God will punish you. Say no, God loves those who do this, for example. Look at the flip. Same idea. This individual believed, this kid believed that the Imam will come and start chopping heads off. And a lot of us believe that, I'm sorry. That right away he'll start jihad and this war, jihad bil sayf, a war with the sword. Not the case. I don't know where this is coming from. His mission will mirror the mission of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet's war, his first war of Badr, didn't happen until 13 years after Asad happened, the announcement of Risalat. He first spoke to the hearts of the people, they came running towards him, and then those heat kuffar who wouldn't accept the message, then of course there's going to be a war. The Imam will be the exact same way. Society will be so past and so low, they'll search for some solution, something out there. Jahalat back then was to the point, it was utter darkness. Surah Jummah says what? وَهُوَ الَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّينَ رَسُولًا مِنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَإِنْ كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Surah Jummah ayat number 2. Why did the Prophet come? He came to teach the book. He came for tazkiyah. He came to purify the masses before they were in utter darkness. They were in complete darkness, the masses. The nur of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This nur comes, and naturally, those who want to will flock towards that light. It's, for example, if Masraqo comes and closes all these lights off, complete darkness, and I light one small candle on the minbar, just a candle. Every single one of your eyes will be drawn towards that candle. It's human nature, it's natural. Even then, back then, the people were in utter and complete darkness. Dalalim mubin, complete darkness. The Prophet came, he was a nur of Allah, and they flocked to him. Like a moth goes to a flame, they went towards the Holy Prophet. And one by one, the rich and the old and the poor converted towards Islam. And then of course there were Abu Sufyan, Ali Abu Sufyan, who didn't want to give up their reigns. And so there was a war. That didn't happen until 13 years after. The exact same thing will happen when the Imam will come. Utter and complete darkness. We're seeing that today, by the way. The amount of dhulm happening today, we haven't seen ever in history of mankind. There is oppression after oppression, and the world is silent. Utter darkness. And again, the son of Prophet Muhammad will come with that nur, and they'll run towards him. They'll flock towards him. It's not that he'll come and start chopping off heads. There'll be a war, no doubt, but not right away. So I did my best to explain to the 7-year-old child this. He got some of it, he didn't get all of it. But please, I ask you, do not present the deen this way to scare these children. We're asking them to prepare themselves for the imam, and we present this gruesome, warlike, bloodthirsty imam, na'udhu billah, who will come and chop off heads. There's an imbalance there. He will speak to the hearts just like our Holy Prophet spoke to the hearts. And the hearts will go running towards him, just like the majority went running towards him. The biggest problem Abu Sufyan had against the Holy Prophet was he was Muhammad the Amin. He goes, how could I convince my people that Muhammad the Amin at the age of 40 now, when he's a little bit older, is lying about this Salat thing? When he was 20, 21, 24, he was a shepherd. When he could have lied to gain his benefit, he didn't. Now at 40 he's going to lie? His biggest problem was to convince the masses that Muhammad the Amin is telling a lie, and he couldn't do it. Our akhlaq can win battles. What they're fighting there is jihad bil sayf, with the sword. No one's asking any of you to give your life in this part of the world. But there is jihad bil akhlaq, jihad bil qalam, jihad bil aql, jihad bil akhlaq. All these things are there. Fight with your qalam, fight with your akhlaq. Kill them with kindness, they say, in this part of the world. And create the awareness about the imam, starting with your own children, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. Because the reality is that while the people of Medina convinced the Holy Prophet that we are ready for your arrival, we've changed, we've reformed everything, there was also a group in Kufa who had the exact same need from Imam Hussein. One person went to the Holy Prophet to ask for his help. 25,000 letters were written to Imam Hussein asking him for help. He sent Mus'ab, Imam Hussein sent Muslim. Mus'ab wrote a letter saying that the light is green, you're ready to go, Rasulullah. Muslim also wrote a letter. The difference was that they proved themselves to be the Ahl Islam, and the Kufans were individuals that a little bit of pressure from Ubaydullah and Yazid, and one by one they left Muslim side. Equally, we call out Wa'ajjil Farajahum every single day. We're calling our Imam for help right now. The question that I have for you, for our communities in the GTA, our ummah at large, is our call the call of the Ahl Medina or the Ahl Kufa? Are we able to show the Imam of our time that while we're calling you, we're able to do islah of ourselves? While we're calling you, we're able to mend our differences, merge ourselves together, work towards one cause. Otherwise, it's lip service for the Imam. The Imam says, you're asking me, you're begging me, you're asking me, what's the difference between you and the people of Kufa? There's no difference. We even say labbaik ya Mahdi, and we say labbaik with our heart. Our actions say something else. The responsibility that we have towards the Imam of our time is, number one, to introduce the Imam properly to these kids. To understand that there is a Savior coming. To understand there is hope coming. There's nur coming amongst the darkness. But do it such that, like I said, a moth that runs towards a flame, all of us will run towards the Imam when he comes, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala. Like I mentioned, I think somewhere else, not here. I said sometimes we create traps for ourselves when it comes to the Imam. Now, I've gone off on a tangent, my topic is gone, I'm talking about the Imam now. Sorry about that. Tomorrow we'll resume our topic, I promise. We make traps for ourselves. What's that trap? The trap is this. We keep hearing about this magical number. The kids love this number 313, right? Oh, 313, 313. Right? Movies are being made, t-shirts are being printed, hats are being done, 313, 313. And we believe that all the Imam will ever need is 313 individuals for his mission. And we've also convinced ourselves that if all of those grand ayatollahs and ulama and the ayatollah bahajats of the world have not been the 313, then you and I don't have a fighting chance. It's impossible that all these great men have come and gone and I am greater than them. So we've lifted the responsibility to prepare for our Imam off our shoulders. Haven't we? We'll say, you know what, those people who are coming, the 313, let them come. I'll kind of join in from the back, and whatever they do, I'll follow them. When the Imam comes, I'll change myself. No, change yourself, and then the Imam comes. The idea is that, yes, we have an hadith above this magical number. Understand what the role they'll play and what role we will play. The Imam will need thousands upon thousands of people for his mission. The Holy Prophet's mission was around Mecca and Medina only. Imam Zamana's mission is not like any other Imam. His mission is entirely global. It's not just the Middle East. He's not just our Imam. Everyone is waiting for a savior. We have the right savior in Khaybat right now. Just like they say, Imam Hussein is not our Imam. What he did on the day of Ashura is for all of humanity. We should begin to open these doors for non-Muslims and non-Shias to come in, sit on this Farshi Azah, and see what we do every single night. I don't know what they think we do every single night. But if there are misconceptions, let's break those. The Imam will need thousands of people for his army. My youth, my youngsters in the audience, all I'm asking you to do and for me to do is do something in your life where the Imam says, I can use you.
Subhanallah.
You know, I give this example. MashaAllah, all of you are Muhammad Ali and Azadar Hussein, MashaAllah, you're the Ba Taqwa Majma. If the Imam ever comes to me and says, Asad, see this individual here? He's one of my greatest companions and soldiers. He lives in that house over there. All I want you to do is make sure his house is clean for him. All I want you to do is make his bed, clean his toilet, hang his clothes up, and that's it. So when he comes back from fighting my mission, he has a nice, relaxing, sukoon house for him. If the Imam has that job for me, I'll take it. All I want, Imam, is nisbat with you. That's all I want. I want so that when people look at me and say, see Asad Jafri, that big tall guy, he's useless, but he's part of the Imam's army. That's all I want. Clean toilets, scrub floors, make dishes, whatever the case may be. I want whatever role you have for me, I just want it to be part of your army, Imam Zaman. I ask my youth, do something, anything, within your field, within your education, where the Imam does a double take for you. So, oh, wait, I had no idea he had disability. I can use him in my mission. And then we begin to prepare. Don't worry about numbers, guys. Worry about your intention. Work for the Imam. The Imam sees everything that you do. He's pacing right now, waiting for his call to say, go and conquer the world. Every time we hear about a shaheed in Pakistan, our heart breaks. His heart also breaks. Because he knows that if I was given this ijazah, I can fix everything. So our mission, especially our youth, the capacity you have inside of you, do not let anybody outside of you or anybody inside of you tell you you don't have the capacity to move mountains. You do. Islam was built on your efforts. Islam was restored on the day of Ashura on your efforts. Islam will be revived again when the Imam comes on your efforts. You are the backbone of Islam. You are the backbone of Shiism. If you won't step up right now, nobody will. And the excuses are running out now. 10 years ago, the idea of someone like me sitting on this member, English majlis, was unheard of. Unheard of. And it's a tribute to our parents that they're able to now come and sit and listen to someone like me, some jahil, speak a few words of English, and that's it. But they realize that times are changing. Our kids need guidance. Slowly but surely there is a movement happening. You can see the world preparing for the arrival of the Imam. We have to jump on that bandwagon, guys, and begin to steer it towards the right direction, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because if it was one area that we have in our books that connects the ashab of Imam al-Zamana, the only comparison we have is the ashab of Imam Hussein. We read every single Thursday that no other individual had the companions of Imam Hussein. The Prophet didn't, Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't, Imam Mushtaba didn't, and Imam Fatima didn't. And we beg and we ask, what? Ya laytani kuntu ma'akum fa'afuza ma'akum. If only I was there with you, I would earn that success with you. Our books tell us that yes, no doubt, the companions of Imam Hussein were unlike any other, but if there was a jalak of those ashab, it's the ashab of Imam al-Zamana. Allama Tabarisi, rahmatullah alayh. It's a waqiyah that I think I narrated in Masumin before, and for sure not Mahdi. And I want to share with all of you as well. Sahib Tafsir Majmul Bayan. A tafsir that's 100 years old. Still taught in the Hausa today. One of the best Shia tafsirs we have out there. He narrates in the 20th jild of his 20-volume tafsir that I read about this idea of the adamats of the ashab of Imam Hussein. And for a moment, I had a little bit of shock inside of me. But how is it possible that the Holy Prophet didn't have the ashab that Imam Hussein had? That Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't have the ashab that Imam Hussein had? Perhaps the author is exaggerating about the azamat of the ashab of Imam Hussein. With that shock, I went to sleep. In my dream, I found myself on the plains of Karbala on the day of Ashura. Standing in front of me is Imam Hussein. He says, Tabarasi, it's almost time for Salat. I want you to stand there in front of my Jamaat and block the arrows that are coming towards my Jamaat. Tabarasi got happy. He couldn't believe that Mawla had a role for me. I wanted to prove to Mawla that I'm worthy of this role. I stood there in front of the Jamaat and he began, Allahu Akbar. And he saw the first arrow come towards him. And he's ready, and he's ready, and he's ready, and the arrow literally comes in front of his nose, and he ducks. It strikes Imam Hussein in the chest. Tabarasi wakes up in a panic, upset, crying. He couldn't believe that Mawla had a role for me. I let him down. That same night, the exact same dream happened. Tabarasi, stand in front of my Jamaat and block the arrows from coming towards me and my ashab. And again, he said, this time I'm not going to let my Mawla down. The same arrow came to the exact same location and he ducked again. And again, it struck him in the chest. Again, he was upset. The third night, in that dream, he's standing there and Mawla Hussein is standing there with 2 arrows in his chest. He says, Tabarisi, you have the audacity and the himmat to question my ashab. Zuhair ibn Qaim, 22 different arrows he took in front of my Jamaat. From the moment I said Allahu Akbar to the moment I said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, he fell. I took him by his head. He said, Mawla, accept my apology. If I was given a little bit more John, I would take more arrows for you. Don't doubt my ashab for a moment. And the ashab Imam Hussein had are the same level of ashab that Imam al-Zamana will have. We have work to do. We have work to do. Because this mission would not have been complete if it wasn't for the ashab of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein al-Shabi Ashur, you've heard the Messiah 1,000 times. He says, you go back to your homes. This war is not with you. They want my head on a spear, not your head on a spear. Go, you have families to take care of, kids to raise. Go, I'll blow up this candle so there's no sharmindagi. Go. But we don't have anywhere in our books that any of the ashab left. Instead, they would speak out and say, Mawla, if we leave you now, what answer will we give Fatima on the Day of Judgment? If we have to taste death anyways, what better way to taste death than beside you, Abu Abdullah? Anas bin Harith was a 94-year-old companion of Imam Hussein. He says that one day on the night of Ashura, on the night of Muharram, he comes out. He sees that Imam Hussein is pacing up and down outside the Khaymaga. He goes, Mawla, everything okay? You're out here by yourself. It's not safe. Come inside. He says, Anas, do you remember my grandfather? He says, of course I do. Because I remember that time when you were 4 years old, Hussein, and you sat on the lap of Rasulullah, and he would over and over again kiss your neck and kiss your forehead. Kiss your neck and kiss your forehead. And I would ask him, why do you do that, Ya Rasulullah? He would just keep saying, Husaynun minni wa ana min Husayn. Husaynun minni wa ana min Husayn. Maybe perhaps telling the ummah that this Husayn is so near and dear to you. But I'll say this to you, Ya Rasulullah, they forgot everything about the adamat of your grandson. Not even a burial. The same Imam Hussein, when he arrived on the 2nd of Muharram, talking to the Bani Asad tribe, he talks to the men, he says, look, there's going to be a war here. Our bodies will be trampled. Our bodies will be shaheed. If you can, bury us one by one. He then puts up a parda, talks to the women of the Bani Asad tribe. If your men are not able to bury us, then all of you women collectively dig a huge grave and just dump our bodies into that grave. And then he speaks to the small little kids of the Bani Asad tribe. If your mothers and your fathers are not able to bury our bodies with your masum small hands, just grab the khak of Karbala and just throw it on our bodies. سَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مَنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to accept this qaleel ibadat, inshaAllah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is so much injustice, so much tyranny all over the world, Syria, Pakistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, Malaysia, Bahrain. We ask you, Allah, the only solution that we see is the coming of the 12th Imam to hasten that reappearance and allow us to be beside him during his mission. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these young individuals in the audience, they are individuals who are trying very hard to be muqaddas and pure. Sometimes they slip, sometimes they fall, sometimes shaitan gets the best of them. But I know in my heart that they mean well. Allah guide them, help them, protect them from shaitan. Let them know what the beauty of Islam is. Allow them to taste your liddat in their worship, inshallah. Convert inside of their hearts the pleasure of sin to the pleasure of worship. Show them that one spark and watch what kind of ashab they'll be for the Imam, inshallah. We ask you, Allah, to forgive the sins of our marhumin, inshallah. Give us tawfiq to not repeat our own sins, inshallah. And lastly, we ask you, Allah, there's only one bloodline that we have in the Shiism, and that's Gham al-Husayn. We ask you, Allah, so long as we are living, so long as there's breath inside of us, don't strip this Gham al-Husayn from us, inshallah. Fatima Hussain.